Welcome, Solid Source. It's Derek Varnadoe here, and we have a very special guest that we're super excited about, and that is Lydia Bass from Fruitful Interiors, Design, and Staging. Lydia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And right off the bat, can you talk to us a little bit about the differences between home staging and interior design?
Sure. So home staging and interior design, they're very, very different. So home staging is a form of visual merchandising. It's marketing for your home, the product that we're trying to sell as a house, and we're trying to attract and bring in as many buyers as possible to the house. So when we set up a design for our home staging purposes, we're setting it up to appeal to the masses. So that means bringing in neutral furniture, making sure we bring out the architectural features of the home, and we really want the buyers to envision themselves living in the property when they come through. The other thing to note is with home staging, usually how we determine the best design for that stage home is depending on the demographic of the buyer. So if we have a high-end condo or maybe like an entry-level home, we'll set it up in a way that will appeal to a younger demographic, bring in, a little more hip pieces so that they can kind of envision themselves living in it, versus if we have a more traditional home, we'll bring in more traditional furnishings for that particular buyer. So with interior design is all about, the homeowner is specific to their taste and what they like, which may be very different than what buyers would like. So at the core, those are the key differences.
Well, that makes sense. So I, as the homeowner, or you as the homeowner, may love lime green in your dining room, but when we get ready to sell it, or maybe
Right.
we're going to put it out there in the market on Airbnb, which we're going to touch
Right.
base on investment properties as well, because Lydia works with a lot of investors,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
found out. And so investor season's back, and so many of us are diving into the game. So we're definitely going to utilize her knowledge for that as
Okay.
well. But you hit the buzzword neutral. So,
Right.
and I do want to talk about 2022 colors of the year, because every year these Pantone and some of the Sherwin-Williams, some of these big name companies will come out with their colors of the year. Can you
Right.
talk to us a little about the colors of this year, and do you see people actually using those colors?
Right. I would say from a home staging perspective, we still recommend neutral colors on the walls. So I always recommend as like a go-to paint color, agreeable gray, simply white. I will say for 2022, one of the things we are seeing from like a color and trend perspective is more natural elements and more earthy colors. So I would say a good accent color would be kind of bringing in greens and browns and even some oranges this year,
Ah,
as well as people are getting away from kind of like the stark white and going for more of like an off-white with a little bit of a beige undertone. So we're seeing a lot of that in the furniture pieces as well. A lot of like the lighter woods are kind of coming back in. So I would just say like overall, a theme that we're seeing a lot is just a really natural elements within the home decor space.
interesting. Agreeable gray
hmm
has been a super popular color for
Yeah, the builders use it a
years.
lot, as well as investors. Yeah.
And white, of course. And would you
Right.
say for anybody out there who is making some updates or some renovations to their homes, and let's just talk about
hmm
kitchens and bathrooms for a minute, because we know
Right.
those sell homes and they also help lease homes, and people tend to focus on those. Are
Uh-huh.
you seeing folks stick or prefer the white kitchens versus darker kitchens? Do you see any trends with that?
Great question. So I would say definitely white is still in, but people are bringing in more personality with the backsplashes.
Ah,
So I would say that's kind of a safe way to make your kitchen a little bit more unique without going over the top and painting all the cabinets lime green. They can kind of bring in a different pattern or design on the backsplash. Another key differentiator that we're seeing in kitchens is instead of the brushed nickel and the chrome, a lot of people are going for more of the black hardware. So that's another way to kind of warm up, a white kitchen. We're
people
seeing a lot of that.
Very nice. So people
hmm
probably do consult with you when they go to make those, because redoing a kitchen is a big
Yeah, it's a
investment.
lot. It's a lot of choices. It's a lot of choices. I
People
agree.
ask me sometimes granite or quartz. I don't know if you get that question or do you have an opinion on, kind of share with us your thought process when someone asks you that question.
Sure. And the answer would actually depend on if they're renovating to live in the house or renovating to sell the house. And the reason I say that, I would say from a staging perspective, it's all about the aesthetic and kind of what's going to appeal to the buyer, like I mentioned before. And so with that, I would say it's not even so much about the type of stone versus the color and the style of the stone. So right now in kitchens, the white countertop that looks like marble, that has a little bit of gray and black, but isn't really busy, is what buyers are kind of going towards. And so I know like a lot of the granite, a lot of times is a little more colorful, but that doesn't mean that you can't find a slab of granite that's mostly gray or mostly white. So I would say just kind of try to find a countertop that isn't very busy, that's neutral, and go from there. Now, I would say, like, if you're living in the house, one key consideration between quartz and uh, granite is just kind of how, if you're in a kitchen, if you cook a lot, you can't really put really hot items on the quartz. So it may not work for you from a functional standpoint, but just from a visual standpoint, I would say focus on the aesthetic of the slab versus material and what's actually going to fit in your budget.
Good advice. And I have seen folks use larger slabs for their backsplash too.
Yeah,
That is a really
absolutely.
popular thing.
Yeah. And even around the island, they have like the waterfall
Yeah,
countertops you can get now. So
very nice. Now, in an extreme seller's market, which we've been in for a couple of years, and
yes.
you know, folks may be watching us and may be wondering,
Mm-hmm.
is a home stager, is an interior designer really going to be worth it right now? I'm sure you have an opinion on that. Would you share it with us?
Yes, absolutely. I get asked that question a lot. And I actually want to give you guys a personal example of mine. So right now I'm in the market for a new used car. And I started the search online because I'm kind of short on time. I'm a very busy woman. And I pinpointed out the make and the model and the year that I want. And I went to a few dealerships. And I don't know if you're aware, but there's a car shortage, a used car shortage.
Yeah.
As well as a housing shortage. I didn't realize that until I started actually looking for a car. But long story short, I went to 3 of the dealers, and they said, our used cars are going fast. We just got it in. Come look at it. And they did not detail the car. And I couldn't even believe they showed it to me like that. But as a buyer, I was like completely turned off. And then I went to one dealership where it's the same exact car and it was detailed. And ultimately, that's the car that I plan to get next week. And my point of sharing that story is it doesn't matter if you're selling a car or a house, it still makes a difference. And even though, there wasn't that many cars to choose from, me as a consumer, as a buyer, that still turned me off. So I say all that to say, like, yeah, in a seller's market, your house may sell, but it still may take a little bit longer, or you still may reduce, your buyer pool. So I say if you want to kind of get the most for your marketing dollars and appeal to the most buyers, like staging is still, it's still beneficial.
Right.
That's not to say that your house will not sell if you don't stage it. However, if you do stage it, that's pretty much a guarantee that I'm not going to turn off any buyers, and that I'm going to, attract as many buyers as needed. And then another thing is, I think it really depends on kind of the floor plan and the layout of that house.
Right.
A lot of the houses we're staging now, they absolutely need to be staged. Like you walk in, you're totally confused. You don't even know what room you're in. And the other thing is, since we are in a seller's market, but we're also in this kind of work from home environment where people want to be more comfortable in their homes,
Right.
and their homes also need to be functional. So in the past, maybe they kind of were okay living in a crammed 2-bedroom house, but in their next home, they know like, hey, I need a space for an office. I need a space where my kids can do homework in case we go virtual again. You know, all those things that people didn't think about before. So staging really helps set the tone for all those different activities and really helps buyers be able to connect with that home.
Makes sense. And basically,
Yeah.
what we're hitting on there is not all buyers are as visual as others, maybe have the same level of imagination, and just some floor plans are just more intricate, a little bit
Right.
harder to figure out
Right.
what the space may be
Right.
best used for.
Right.
So I want to dive into Airbnb. I know a lot of
Okay.
us are excited to kind of hear you share with us, because
Right.
Airbnb is such a different category from your traditional seller, because
Mm-hmm.
folks are actually going to be, it is a short-term lease rental,
Right.
but they need to be able to use the furniture. They need to be able to function there. So can you kind of talk to
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit about how those needs differ and what advice you're giving folks who maybe they have a vacant property now and they're
Right.
looking to, I'm going to
Right.
say stage it, but basically furnish it?
Yeah, yeah. Some of the principles are the same with Airbnb. I mean, you're still marketing your property, so you still want it to show well. And Airbnb, 100%, you want those photos to pop because they literally look at the picture and then pull out their credit card. So, yeah, you want your pictures to pop. The big difference with Airbnb is the furnish. Like people are living in the house, so you need to make sure you have furniture that can withstand kind of people coming in and out and big families and things like that. So one of the things I would say is you would be a little more careful about the types of furniture that you bring in. And a home stager or a designer can definitely help or assist you with that, and as well as like putting together a floor plan configuration that will make sense for your guests.
Decluttering. So most of us have too much stuff. I know spring cleaning
Yeah.
is right around the corner. Can you
Mhm.
give us some tips for decluttering?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it in very simple terms. Just get down to the core function of the room. Everything else can particularly, be kind of taken out of the room. So if it's a dining room, you obviously need a table and 4 chairs. If it's living room, you'll need a sofa, a chair, a coffee table. Bedroom, you need a bed and nightstands. The dresser and the armoire, all of that's extra. And then as a second layer, like once you get kind of the core functional pieces in the room, then I would say go minimal with accessories and wall art. Maybe if you have, stick to one large piece of art on each of the walls, so that it doesn't appear too cluttered when people are kind of walking in and out of the room. And just really take a step back and evaluate, is there anything extra in the space. So taking pictures can definitely help with that.
Awesome. And
Hmm.
for those who are looking to stage on a budget,
Yes.
what tips can you offer us?
Staging on a budget. So I would say the first thing is to, staging always starts with kind of the core or the foundation of the room. So if you need to paint, you either paint yourself or hire painters. But either way, always kind of start with a fresh coat of paint. That's a kind of a cost of effective way to kind of make a major improvement in the space. And then a next thing I always focus on is the lighting. So light fixtures coming in and picking out, at Home Depot, you can probably get like a nice ceiling fan or even chandelier for under $100. So I think, just being really thoughtful about that coming in. You can also change the light fixtures. And then from the actual staging perspective, if you're mixing old, some of your older things with new things, you can also bring in newer soft goods. So newer pillows, newer bed linens, maybe even new curtains, and just kind of really try to freshen up anything that's dated in the room.
Wonderful. Now, one question I will receive from time to time is removing personal photos and super
Yes,
personal items,
that's a good
particularly when selling or leasing, regardless of which route that you're going to go. Do you tell
Right.
folks that too?
We definitely recommend anything too personal or pictures, like pictures of you, pictures of your kids, all of that needs to be taken out of the house.
And that just is so too that they can they can visualize themselves in the
Exactly.
space.
Yeah, it's a bit of a distraction. You're walking through a home and then you see collage of family photo. That's going to catch your eye and kind of take them away from the home, which is what they should be focused on. So it's really more of a distraction for buyers.
Absolutely. Well, Lydia, thank you so much for being here with us. We
Okay.
always love having you. Is there anything you want to leave us with, particularly if someone wants to go ahead and hire you or talk to you one-on-one, maybe a consultation? Also give us the steps that they should follow.
Sure. Well, the name of my company is Fruitful Home Staging. You can find us online or on Instagram under Fruitful Interiors and Staging. Website's fruitfulhomestaging.com. They can find all my contact information there. I would say, like, if you've never staged a home before, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of background information on the process, typically you would call or bring in the stager about 2 weeks before your prime list date. The stager would kind of come in, walk through the home, and then they can kind of provide you a proposal of what needs to happen. So I would say, definitely don't wait until your house is already on the market or it's already live. Get in front of the curveball, like as soon as you get that listing, be thinking about how you're going to effectively market the property. One thing that my company does, we also include professional photography with all of the vacant packages. So it's kind of like all bundled in together. So that's something else. So if you want to kind of get the most impact for your photos and your professional photography, then I would definitely stage first. So that's one thing I just kind of wanted to add, because a lot of times realtors will contact us and they say, well, we just want to test the market first, or we just kind of want to see what's going to happen, and then we'll call a stager. And there's definitely downfalls to kind of doing it that way.
Right.
I gave you the story with the car, so that's a very similar example. Like, they went in detail that car after I looked at it, but I'm not going back, because I was already turned off. So you only have one time to make a first impression. So I say definitely make it count.
Awesome. Well, you have a great eye. And if you check out the
Right.
website, and I'll include Lydia's contact information in the
Right.
description below as well.
Okay.
But your before and afters are beautiful. Your
Thank
client
you.
reviews are glowing, as I would expect. So we
Okay, I
really,
appreciate
really
it.
appreciate your knowledge very much.
Okay, thank you.